How's it going, YouTube? My name's Ninja7, your resident Mistweaver monk. And hey, eyes up here. Eyes up here, this guy. This one's talking. Well, guys, welcome into today's video. We're going to be talking about how this week has been easily the worst push week that I can remember in the longest amount of time. And it doesn't just come down to the combination of affixes. I'm sure you can put together a sequence of affixes or a group of affixes that are much worse than this week's. I mean, just think like Fortified, the old Sanguine that used to stack puddles, and I don't know, bolstering or inspiring. Yeah, like I said, you can put together worse affix combos than what we had this week, but this week was a little special. You see, there's been some bugs, mostly just one bug around this set of affixes that has made it almost unplayable, especially for me, a healer. Now, we're going to get into that and we're going to break it all down and I'll show you guys some examples or at least talk about some examples. But for now, I want to talk about what these affixes are. Now, if you're watching this when I post it, you're probably still trapped in this week, especially my EU players. But for those who are watching in the future, the affixes are just tyrannical, bolstering, and afflicted. Now, on paper, once again, this is not the worst set of affixes that you can put together, but it's already pretty bad, mostly because of bolstering. Now, bolstering is already a really bad affix, a really like hard affix, but it's made a lot harder this season because a lot of stupid stuff is bolstering other enemies. Like a lot of stuff should not be bolstering, that is bolstering. And then also tyrannical has been kind of a lot harder this season. There's just a lot more harder or a lot more hard bosses than there are hard packs this tier. A lot of dungeons just are the bosses, like think Throne of the Tides. The bosses are the hard part, like a Taldazar, the bosses are the hard part, especially for pugs. I'm sure you see some push groups pushing those keys with ease and not really having trouble on fortified or tyrannical weeks, but for pugs, a lot of these bosses have been the kill points in keys. And then hopping over to afflicted. Normally, this is just designed to be like a comp thing. Like you're just supposed to bring along 2 or 3 people that can dispel, help out the healer, and this is just a nuisance. It's not a difficulty check, it's just like a mechanics, a nuisance check, and for the most part just adds annoyance, not difficulty. But I promise you, it is the root cause of all of your issues this week, and you might not even have noticed. Now, normally for Afflicted, we're going to quickly brush on Afflicted and then hop on to the easy one. Yes, the easy one, bolstering, and then we'll come back to the difficulty of Afflicted. But normally Afflicted is, like I said, just an annoyance. You bring along a certain comp that can deal with it, and it's not that big of an issue. Now, this affix does become pretty hellish or pretty nightmarish if you take it into a scenario like it's a nightmare scenario that you guys are actually watching right now, where you as the healer are the solo dispeller. And those of you who are watching that are not healers, trust me, there will be some valuable insight, especially if you have a push group that specifically has a Mistweaver monk, because that is my perspective. But if you are solo dispelling, that is the nightmare scenario, because now all of a sudden you have to devote 2 dispels or a lot of healing to carrying this mechanics alone. But for the most part, especially if you're putting the group together, or if you notice before the key starts that you're the only dispel, you can usually say something. You can straight up leave the group. There's a lot of different ways to avoid this from happening, but why I put myself through this, I have no idea. But that is the typical nightmare scenario. You have no one that's helping you or no one to help you with this affix as the healer. But oh boy, have things changed this week with this affix. Now, we'll come back to it. We're going to set it aside, and I promise you that is what the majority of this video is going to be on. Let's just talk about bolstering. Let's get this out of the way. Now, bolstering, like I said, is already a ridiculous mechanic. It really is like a full-on mechanic, not just an affix. Affixes, you could argue, are supposed to be completely, game-altering mechanics, but they aren't. A lot of them aren't. They change up your gameplay once every now and then. But bolstering, already like on death mechanics, like bursting even, they're a little difficult because they happen every single pack, and a lot of times they're non-avoidable. But bolstering is its own beast because not only is it an on-death affix, so it's already just annoying and frequent, but it changes the way that certain packs behave. It changes the way certain pools behave, and normally affixes that do this are okay. It's okay to change up your route on certain weeks. Like think back inspiring, you change up your route completely, and you got used to that. But bolstering is completely unique in the sense that a lot of times you cannot avoid it. There are certain packs that you have to pull. They are in your way. You can't skip them, and bolstering just makes them a complete and utter nightmare. One of the packs that I want to talk about, and is kind of just like the best example of this, is the first like few pools of Everbloom, where you have all those dread petals that for the most part are not scary at all. They're usually just fodder, just stuff that you can pull alongside the big guys like the Noxious Eruption guys or the Spinny guys or the casters. You normally pull them along with that just to get your percentage, just to get your count. They don't add any threat to the pack. They just allow you something to cleave or funnel off of. Now, part of that is because their health pool is a lot lower and they tend to just die quicker. So you can kind of chain a few of these guys together. A lot of people bring these guys into the first boss on Everbloom. These guys just are not threatening. But on bolstering week, they are a nightmare. They are a thing out of a nightmare, and especially for pug groups. Now, in push groups, when you watch streamers, a lot of times you're going to see the DPS single target focusing, or tiny targeting, multi-targeting, the few ads that matter in those packs. So you probably aren't seeing the problem if you're just watching it, or if you're pushing low enough keys to where you're kind of breezing through content. But for people like myself that pug kind of like mid-level keys, like the 25 area, you start to see the big issue when people just cleave these ads down, kill them like they would any other week, where the dread petals just die, about 30% before the rest of the guys. And then those Noxious Eruptions, all of a sudden, instead of just being something that you can devote a single healer cooldown to, where you can just like let everyone fall to 40% from one big slam, top everyone up with something like a Shayloon's Gift, bada bing, bada boom, you're fine. It changes this week. If that thing is bolstered once or twice by a single or two dread petals, all of a sudden it is one-shotting someone. If they don't press, if one of your DPS like a mage or a boomkin do not press their defensive cooldown, they are getting one-tapped, erased, and pug groups tend to blame the healer, so that could lead to that scenario where the healer gets blamed. But in most situations, someone's dying, and that all of a sudden now makes things less predictable. As a healer, I know what cooldowns I like to bring into certain packs because they line up versus the damage, the incoming damage. And I can plan that way. And a lot of groups, a lot of the big push groups are good because they're great at planning cooldowns. If I apply Chi Cocoon here, then we will survive with like 20% health. That way we don't have to use our defensive, so we can save it for the next big slam. Things like that. You can really plan your cooldowns like that. But weeks like this, with bolstering alone, make that so much more difficult because all of a sudden you cannot plan for that. You do have to change up how everyone in the group plays. And that is just not pug friendly at all, because now all of a sudden you're having to rely on everyone in a pug group to understand that they will cause the party to wipe if they kill things in a certain order. It is just a tall task. It's a little bit too much for a single affix, let alone one that couples with two other affixes like tyrannical and afflicted. And I've seen it in other videos, like I think Max or Dratnos, one of those big YouTubers, they had a video where they talked about affixes like this and kind of broke them down. It might have been a tier list, but they brought up packs like this and just said an easy solution is that the dread petals just should not bolster. And yeah, honestly, that is an easy solution, but why they haven't made changes like that happen, I have no idea. I don't know why they think that it's in a good state as is, because there are some packs that just become like infinitely more difficult this week in particular, just because of one affix. And yeah, that's as much as I'm going to say on bolstering. Oh, also, watch this clip back. I've already played it before, but I'll play it again. Watch this clip on the first pull of Waycrest Manor. We run out of kicks. I've used all my kicks, all my AoE stops, and a single soul bolt, or whatever that cast is called from this pack, kills me. A single cast, like all these casts that normally would do like 30% of your health, now all of a sudden if they die in a bad order and one cast gets off right before the thing dies, it kills you, it one-shots you. That's insane. But yeah, like I said, I tried to stop all these casts, but I just could not stop this one. It absolutely nuked me. And that just kind of is another big issue, is now all of a sudden things that are normally manageable and you kind of let certain casts slip through to save your kicks for more important casts. Now all of a sudden every cast can be important to kick, important to stop. If you bolster, if you chain pull, if you allow that to get bolstered before he casts, now all of a sudden it is a must kick spell, and it's just weird. It's just a bad week, but that's bolstering. That's its own beast. Already, that is just a difficult affix, and I think that it's a completely separate conversation than the one that I do want to be having in this video. Now let's get to the actual hard affix. Yes, you heard me right. Afflicted, I'm calling as harder, especially for the healers, especially this week, than bolstering. Now, all of a sudden, this video took a turn for the worst. Some of you clicked off because I just put the hottest take out there. Now, on any given week, any week in the past, Afflicted is an easy affix. Honestly, just get one pug to help you dispel. It's an easy affix. In the worst case scenario, like I said, you're either solo dispelling or you do a dungeon like picture Waycrest Manor, the one that you're seeing right now, and all those thorn casts, the infected thorn casts, now all of a sudden you have to save your dispel. You can't be dispelling those left and right. And pools like that, or the boss and Throne of the Tides that applies the dot, pools like that just get harder now this week because Afflicted exists. Your detox or your dispel is devoted to other things than debuffs on your party. So all of a sudden, like this, it can be hard. It can be a hard affix, but let's be real, this affix is extremely easy. So why am I making a big deal about it? Well, if you remember back to the beginning of this video, I did mention that one affix was bugged, and boy, is it bugged big time. Afflicted has been so buggy this week that it alone has made me not want to push keys. I have failed so many keys this week in a row because of Afflicted. Just like, for lack of a better term, it has been cucking me like left and right. There have been bosses that have just like killed a party member out of nowhere because of something completely avoidable that I played around, but a bug stole from me. Now, what am I talking about? Well, let's talk about how this began, how this week started. If you remember back at the start of this week, I posted a short. You guys might not have seen it, but I was kind of just showing off that I was able to solo the final boss on a Jdotb plus 20, which I am not a tank player, but I was tanking, and I was even able to solo it because Afflicted was behaving weird on that boss. Now, I tried it once. Afflicted stopped me because I would not have enough global cooldowns because I'm a bad tank player, and I would almost die if I tried to dispel both Afflicted, and I would just die. I would get overwhelmed because an Afflicted cast would go off. I would die. But then I gave it another shot, and I realized, wait, why are some of these Afflicted ads just like dying immediately? And it was because the spiders on that boss were eating the Afflicted ad. So all of a sudden I'm like, okay, something's going on here, but it might just be like this one mechanic that's kind of bugged. The spiders just eat the Afflicted ad. That makes sense, I guess. I'll take it. But no, it evolved so much more. It started when I saw a WoW highlights video. You know those channels that just steal clips off streamers? It was one of those videos, and it showed the second boss from Jdotb choosing to pursue, I guess, an Afflicted ad. So all of a sudden now two bosses mechanics are buggy with Afflicted. They are not working as intended. But then the third boss, I'm pretty sure I caught this on stream at some point, but I'm 100% sure no one else soaked us an extra sanguine puddle on that third boss, you know, the one on top of the pyramid, the priestess. But I'm pretty sure an Afflicted ad soaked one of the sanguine puddles. So when transfusion went off, I had nothing to soak up. I'm like 100% sure that's what happened. And then also the fourth boss, just to make it a complete set, the fourth boss, one of my Twitch viewers said that he chose the sanguine ad or the Afflicted ad to jump to, you know, the totem boss to jump to. And so all of a sudden, like sanguine or Afflicted is just getting in the way of mechanics. And that's how we know it's a bug, because it is working beneficially in our favor in a strange way that it hasn't in the past. So already, now I'm tipped off that this is a bug. Afflicted is bugged. It's not behaving as intended. But then, how is that a bad thing? All those things that I just described to you, except for maybe the sanguine thing, are good, right? Well, yeah, those are, but just as the Sanguine thing kind of worked horribly in our against us, not in our favor, but against us, the affix was stealing a lot of our spells in horrible ways that cause people to die. What do I mean? Well, watch this clip. I'll play it once for you, and just tell me if you notice anything, especially those of you who are Mistweaver players, you know, my normal viewers. What do you notice about this pool? Okay, sure. Some of you guys saw it. Hopefully, I remember to edit it in. If I don't, just play along with me. But some of you guys saw it, and I'll play it back and kind of tell you what's going on. Well, when you summon as a Mistweaver monk, when you summon your Celestial in Mythic Plus, you choose Gingi. When you summon that, everyone in the party, or all 5 people, get coded or get a shield called Chi Cocoon. It just spawns in your Celestial and it shields up everyone. And for most push groups, they use this as an AoE, you know, semi-defensive. It just extends your health bar a little, so now things that would one-shot you barely don't one-shot you, making things predictable. It's a predictable AoE defensive. However, if you paid close attention, you'll see that the Afflicted ad in this pool stole one of the Chi Cocoon buffs, and all of a sudden, one of my party members takes a big chunk of damage because now they don't have that extra health padding that I was intending on, that I planned on them having for a mechanic. So, okay, that's one thing. So these Afflicted ads are stealing the Chi Cocoons. Maybe one person in a key randomly gets one shot where I otherwise would have planned around them not getting one shot. Sure, that's not that bad, right? It doesn't stop there. If you look here on screen, Ancient Teachings is one of our primary ways to heal a key. Now, this key, I'm pretty sure this group disbanded because of a bug that from the Afflicted buff, which I will get into. But Ancient Teachings is one of our primary sources of healing, and it's a smart heal. All of these things that we're going to be talking about today are smart heals. So the game looks and sees your party members who needs this healing, who on your team could use a shield, and it gives it to them. It makes the decision for us. Now, in weeks past, these smart heals have not really worked on afflicted mobs. Now, Ancient Teachings, we kick something and it'll heal up to 5 people in our party that need healing. So for the most part, if your tank's the only one taking damage, it'll funnel into the tank. All of it will go into the tank, so it's good tank healing until the group starts taking damage, and everyone in the group will take split healing, pushing their health bars up in an even manner. That's how we play around this passive. However, if you'll notice here, Afflicted is stealing some of that healing. So now all of a sudden our smart healing that we rely on so much is like going into the Afflicted ad. So that's 2 smart heals that can bait. If I Rising Sun Kick knowing that my tank is the only one taking damage, I know that all that healing is going to go into him, but now half of that's going to go into him because the Afflicted mob might steal some of that healing. So, oh my god, it doesn't stop here. Trust me. For example, push groups, if they run, like, say they run a mage and a Mistweaver in a push group, which a lot of push groups are, then they could plan a cooldown like, think the tree boss in Darkheart Thicket. That big slam that it does on everyone. On a plus 27, it might not one-shot the mage. But on a plus 28, it might. And how groups are getting around that is they're planning to Chi Cocoon one, or they're saying everyone use a defensive on this one, or, you know, use X cooldown here, and they're using Chi Cocoon, and they're using like things like Arcane Barrier for these things, ways to just keep your group from being one shot. And for abilities like Chi Cocoon and possibly Arcane Barrier, or whatever the mage shield is, I'm not a mage player, maybe that's not working too. Maybe the Afflicted's stealing that, but I do know that the Afflicteds are stealing Chi Cocoon. But that's just one example. I promise you there's a ton more where people might get one shot. Like, think the Everbloom tank buster mechanic that just pops the whole group for big AoE damage. Just things like that. Things add up in a key. Things where you expect damage to be mitigated, but it's not being mitigated. Or you expect damaged health to be healed and it's not getting healed. It's just things that you literally cannot plan around unless you just play poorly. You'll notice also that one of our other major, now in this key I did not press it that much because I've lost so much faith in this button this week, but Shayloon's Gift is also another smart heal. How it works is we apply it to one person and it will heal them, and for other people. So in a Mythic Plus group, it'll heal all 5 people. It does a massive heal. It'll top up everyone. This is how Mistweavers, it's a cooldown that we plan around once every 40 seconds to be at full strength. This is how we combat a lot of mechanics. We let the big slam hit, and we plan to have this cast go off right once that hit hits to make the next incoming damage non-threatening. This is just our biggest cooldown in Mythic Plus for the most part. Now, what's the problem with this spell? Well, you're probably picking up on it already. Let's go back to the face cam. Now, you probably picked up on it by how I described it. Well, for the most part, this is actually a great spell on Afflicted weeks. So how it would work on Afflicted is if we either need to use our Dispel on like a tank debuff or a DPS debuff, then we can, but we can use Sheilun's Gift. We can select the Afflicted mob as the target for the Sheilun's Gift, and then it'll hit the Afflicted mob and then just cleave 4 of our party members with the rest of the 4 Sheilun's Gifts. Now, that's a great way to use this spell on this week, and that's how we're used to doing it. Or if we need to be a solo Dispeller, we can Dispel 1 Afflicted mob, cast Sheilun's Gift, specifically targeting the second Afflicted mob, and it would choose them as the first target and then cleave onto 4 targets in the party. That's something that we plan around. That's a way that we can plan to use our Sheilun's Gift. Now, how it's working this week and how this has been such a miserable cooldown this week to press is, say you're casting Sheilun's Gift because you know you're about to take a big slam of damage and you have that timing precise to where right once the damage hits, everyone's going to be fully topped up. But say that as you start to cast this, you see those 2 afflicted ghostly presences start to appear on the screen, and then right before your Sheilun's Gift casts, those 2 afflicted mobs spawn. And even though you were casting Sheilun's Gift on your tank, which ideally would only say your tank's going to get the biggest heal, and then the other 4 party members are going to be cleaved onto, because it's smart healing. Smart healing should not hit afflicted, right? Wrong. Smart healing would hit afflicted this week, Sheilun's Gift included. Now all of a sudden your Sheilun's Gift is healing 3 party members and 2 afflicted mobs, and it just feels horrible because now 2 party members are dead because your Sheilun's Gift, your big major cooldown that you planned correctly, is now not working as intended. Same with other smart heals like Renewing Mist. Let's see. Renewing Mist can bounce to them. Jadefire Stomp is not a problem. Dreaming Devotion is really not a problem either. But a lot of very important things are going to afflicted mobs that should not. They are not intended to. And I've heard even big streamers complain about it this week, complain about this bug and how it's breaking their keys, bricking their keys. And overall, regardless of what level you play at, if you're just a plus 20 gamer all weekend, or if you're pushing plus 30s, I'm sure that this has affected you, even if you haven't noticed that this is the reason why one of your party members is dead, or why you have died, or why something has happened. This has affected you, and it has all just come together to make this week a miserable experience, specifically in my case for Mistweaver, but across the board. Now, this is where I want to know your input. A lot of you guys are Mistweaver players, but I know that a lot of you guys are Resto Shaman players, Resto Druid players. I have a lot of Priest viewers. I basically have a lot of healer viewers, and I'm very curious to see your input if you're playing another healer. Are your Dream Breaths not hitting your allies because they're hitting afflicted mobs? Are your Power Word Radiances doing the same thing? Wild Growths. When you Convoke, are your Regrowths hitting them? Are your Chain Heals bouncing to them? Or your Healing Stream or Healing Tide Totem, whichever one's the one that just got buffed, is that healing the afflicted mobs instead of your allies? What's going on? How about Grove Guardians too also? But how is this working for other healers? Because I can tell you that, personally this week, it has made Mistweaver so obnoxious, and it's a bug. And it's crazy that it's made it this far into the week without getting touched. I mean, tomorrow is reset for me. But guys, what do you think of these? Have you noticed this? Or has it been happening and you're noticing something going on, but you don't really know what it is? Let me know all of that down in the comments, because you guys know I love talking to you. Not only just talking to you, but hearing your input down below. And I look forward to that conversation. But also, I look forward to thanking the patrons of this channel. Yes, I know, a shameless plug and one perfectly segued, but thank you so much to the patrons of this channel. You guys are what push this channel into what it is today. These guys are the reason why this channel still exists, why I'm able to even give it a shot. So thank you so much if you are a member of my Patreon. And also, if you want to look into that or see, how can you support me, how many different tiers are there, what's the lowest tier, feel free to click that link down in the description below, or I guess if you're in the comment section above. But feel free to click on that link and you'll be able to see all of that. There are a ton of tiers for you guys to support, but it really does keep the lights of this channel, the theoretical lights of this channel on. So thank you so much to my patrons. And once again, if you want to see your name on the screen with these guys, then check out that link down in the description. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sorry if it was ranty. I tried to make it more informational and less ranty, but yeah, I mean, it's just when a bug happens that's pretty game breaking for a lot of mechanics, then it's hard not to be ranty. But I appreciate you guys for all the support and for your discussion down in the comments. And feel free to roast me. I have thick skin if you think that I'm being whiny. But I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching this one. I'll see you then. Until then, take care.